Kitchens are the noisiest places in dementia units, and as a result of that, they create a lot of noise stress for dementia units because the kitchen is central to the main lounge, which also includes the reception area, the nurses' station, and the main dining area. So all of this accumulates in a lot of noise stress, which can create a lot of fight-flight reactions for the dementia residents. In terms of planning, it's probably not feasible to create a separate kitchen and dining area to the lounge because it needs to be an easy access corridor for people to transport themselves. But there are ways of going about it to settle noise, and it needs to be done really because it's all day that the dementia residents are exposed to this noise. Breakfast, preparing, setting up, serving, cleaning up, for lunch and dinner the same. So there's constant noise all day with breakfast and lunch and dinner, then morning and afternoon tea. More than half the time really is noise stress there from the kitchen, with the TV lounge being central to it. Usually the TV lounge is central, then behind them, in the cases where I've worked at dementia units, is the kitchen area and the dining room, and then far off to the right or left, the reception area and the nurses' station. So all the clatter of, phones, medication trolleys, meals being prepared, multiple conversations, it just layers up. But the kitchen really is the one that has the clatter and banging, and that's often the one that gives the residents a shock or a fright, especially if they're sitting looking at the television and all the clatter's going on behind them and they can't see and they're not prepared for the noise. They can't see the kitchen, so they're not knowing that there's 2 or 3 people there preparing lunch. If they did know that, if they're in another position and they can actually view the kitchen with the people preparing lunch, they can at least be partly prepared that there may be some noise. But if they can't see behind them, which is often the case, then it just comes as a complete shock. So there really needs to be some system put in place to noise dampen kitchens in dementia facilities. Staff do their best, but really they're so busy. They haven't got time to quietly put away knives and forks, and they just tend to throw the whole container into the drawer, and that's a heck of a racket. Or throw things into the dishwasher. They really, time's the essence for them. They're flat out all day, so nothing's done quietly. So as a result of that, cutlery especially, banging of doors, banging of drawers really happens all day. So to be able to counteract this, if the design could be looked at for dementia facilities, the design architects initially could really take some time and consideration, consider the dementia residents and what they have to go through all day, every day, 24/7, right throughout the year. It's just constant, ongoing, and high level. So if really, it's not just listening to the staff and what they think, it's listening to the dementia residents and what they think. So it would be a good idea for the person that designs these units to sit in for a whole day with the dementia residents, sit in the seats where they sit and experience the level of noise for a full day. Then they'll get the full spectrum. It really would be a good idea, because maybe 4 hours they'd get 2 meals and a morning tea in, but the whole day, then they see where the various gin levels are created, and it would be a fair enough spectrum of time. Not necessarily, because escalated dementia residents create a lot of noise as well, and it could be the day that the architect comes in, the dementia resident that usually is escalated is quite quiet. So really the best thing would be 1 full day and 2 or 3 impromptu visits. That would really cover it, so that they'd be sure to get an escalated resident and then calling out, and the noise created from that with 2 or 3 visits. And then, so much can be done. I mean, just from a mundane level, not so mundane really, practical level, there can be, what are they called? Quiet drawer and cupboard closers. So you can get hinges that sort of close softly for both cupboards and drawers so that they're quietly closing. That makes a big difference. And also putting in soft material at the bottom of drawers, so when pots and cutlery go in, it doesn't clatter on the base of the drawer but onto a softer material. It may only reduce the clatter 40%, but it's a big help. Maybe screens can be put in that are noise dampening to reduce the clatter. There must be something that can be done, or wall insulation as well to create better noise insulation. You know, in the roof now you can have special bats for noise insulation, etc. I'm sure the architects and designers have plenty of good ideas for house and garden homes these days. So if those principles can be put into a dementia unit, and the noise stress really for the dementia residents, they really need this help. There's so much they have to put up with day in, day out, their own dementia stress, other people's behaviour, you know, being in an enclosed environment, really. So they just need to have a place where they sit in the lounge, which is quiet as possible. It won't be quiet, but at least quieter, and they can sit in the sun and enjoy it. Because the thing is that dementia residents love sitting in the lounge. You may think, well, why don't they go to their room? Good question. But actually they like company. They like being with each other. They love the sun. They love the view. They love the camaraderie, the TV, the activities, the socialisation. They're social. They're not sick. They're fit and healthy, half of them. And maybe old, but they can still walk around well. But they've just got a memory problem, so they like to be part of the goings-on. In fact, a lot of them have lived on their own for a long length of time, you know, many years. If their husbands died and they've been out on a farm in the Wop somewhere, they actually like the socialisation. And many daughters often say, or sons, that mum improves once she comes to the unit because she's getting fed well when she wasn't cooking well at home, just a piece of toast for breakfast and a toast and eggs for dinner, and she'd lost a lot of weight. So coming into the unit buoyed her up, eating well and having company. So that can sometimes be the case. But overall, most dementia residents experience this noise stress and are often calling out, especially to the kitchen, be quiet, you know, can't you keep the noise down? Can't we have some peace and quiet? It really does go on all day. So any measures that can be put in place to help these wonderful dementia residents, and also consider respite for the people that are especially anxious, because noise stress will affect the anxious more likely. If they can occasionally have, you know, breakfast in their room or a meal in their room, just so they can have a chance to, you know, be away from the noise, even once a day if they're really anxious, or a few times a week. If they can be put on a dining table that's more separate to the main core part of the dining area, that's also a good idea, because the central hub of noise and activity and clatter is around the kitchen area, and a lot of the tables are crammed in there because it's easy access serving out meals. But there will also be dining tables further away, so for those that are affected by noise stress in particular, they can have tables that are on the outer rim. Also outings, of course, lovely walks in nature. That's always a solace, isn't it? It always helps reduce stress. The birds and the bees and the butterflies and flowers in the sunshine, walking outside, taking your family member outside for a lovely walk will help with the noise stress as well. So all these forms of respite need to be considered for these wonderful dementia residents having to cope full time in such a facility. They're warriors, aren't they? Valiant to be able to cope in such places. So we need to be able to support them as much as we can. So books on all these topics are in The Resident's Voice and The Resident's Rise, both from a dementia unit, both of which I've written, and they're on Amazon and in my website description below. So it's good reading, light reading, constructive, instructive, and I think you'll enjoy the residents' views, etc. So thank you for your looks and your likes, and please subscribe to this channel. I appreciate your support. Thank you.